they still have not played a second of a game.
Did you go, Dr. Lewis?
Yeah, I just don't plug in, it's not up there, but you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, it is 7:00. We'll call the February 10th, 2025 Board of Education regular meeting to order. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is on the wall right there. And with that, do we excuse before or after roll call, Jen?
Good question. I think we usually do it after. Yes, I'll do roll call and then we'll do that.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, I'm going to take roll then.
Okay, Jason Arnold.
Here.
Cassie Blessman.
Here.
Chase Cradaville.
Here.
Brian Locker.
Here.
Steve Slydice. Shannon Wilmot.
Yes, I am here.
And then Steve is not here. He let me know last month he had some travel that was planned many months ago that he could not get out of due to work, and understood when it was made, it was way before the election and things like that. So I will make a motion to excuse the absence of board member Steve Slydice.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Let's vote.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
Jason Arnold.
Yes.
Cassie Blessman.
Yes.
Chase Cradaville.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Motion carried. We still have a quorum, so let's do the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item 1.4, approval of the regular meeting agenda. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the regular agenda as presented.
Thank you, Cass.
Second.
Jason's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Let's vote.
Jason Arnold.
Yes.
Cassie Blessman.
Yes.
Chase Cradaville.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
All right. The motion carries. Agenda item 2 is welcome guests in public forum. Before I read this lengthy thing, is there anybody from the public that wants to address the board tonight? Okay. We will move on to agenda item 3, the consent agenda. And here you'll have the minutes of last month's board meeting, as well as financials and some personnel changes. On the financials, let me pull up real quick. Dr. Lewis and I went through this last Friday. Pretty straightforward. You'll note, and I think sometimes buildings and grounds will talk about this soon. A little more bus repairs were on there.
A little less than.
Yeah, a lot
previous
less.
ones,
Yeah.
probably the last
Yeah.
bit, so.
You'll see a couple of athletic related things, new basketball rims on there. Let's see what else we talked about. Oh, go ahead on that. Yeah.
We have, we're doing some stipends, so we're eligible for this Get Set grant, which is new for special education. And so we're paying out stipends for 5 people to attend their trainings. And then once they see that we paid them, they reimburse us for those stipends. So you'll see those at the end there for the 5 teachers that have been, or staff members that have been participating in that.
So so it gets paid out and then they see that it was paid out and then they reimburse.
Yes.
Okay, it says reimbursed on there, so I'm like, does that mean that is?
It will be, yeah.
It's reimbursable.
Yeah, it will be.
Okay,
It will be reimbursed, but we have to have the minutes from the board meeting showing that we paid them.
Got it. Okay,
It will
okay.
reimburse to us, if that makes sense.
Yep.
There was one more.
You'll see your annual dues from NASB on there.
Mhm.
Obviously, we use them quite a bit with conferences and professional development.
I was going to also mention our PPD bill, which is a little bit higher. It's been more down in the 9,000, but I anticipate that will go up a little bit, just because they're raising rates. So.
Yeah,
I think I got an email.
I just got an email today too, so probably had a lot of people that on their
So
OPD rate.
because that's over that $10,000 limit, does that fall into anything, or
No,
because it's electricity, I mean, it's gotta be in a
it's
legal
budgeted
zone?
for in the electricity, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not something that we have
Okay.
to have previous. And I do believe that you're approving these bills would actually cover that because the check doesn't actually get paid until then anyway, but
Okay.
we can't have, I mean, we can't do a two motion, like a separate pull-up motion for the
Yeah.
electric that bill that we have
Yeah.
going forward, so
If that were, because sometimes doesn't the electricity bill fall under a hand payable though?
occasionally it does.
Yeah.
But I think we're still okay.
It's still okay,
It's
though.
really budgeted,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the time we get the bill, it's just when we have a really early board meeting.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not here for us yet. Most of the time it is. And the lease purchase payment is going out too, so.
Something else, Dr. Lewis and I talked about, you'll see in the activity balances, yearbook is in the negative. We expect over the coming months, as this last term school year ends, that will go down, obviously, with students and parents and family members buying yearbooks.
That's pretty typical, isn't it? It's not out all the time.
Yeah, kind of listed on them. Have they done ad sales yet, Mr. Kingston?
Yeah, it's continues to be a loss
But,
account.
and we've talked about this, it's probably been 2 or 3 years since we've talked about it with Mr. Person again, but, some districts do supplement it from their general funds, and we just let it go, but.
Brian, did you have anything? On your new role? And then, Dr. Lewis, was there any other personnel side you wanted to, there's a lot of movement there.
Yeah, there's just a lot of movement, so when positions became open or became clear that they were going to be open, there's a couple of things that you'll approve later in there. One of them is a resignation, because we already have the letter, but there's another request. So then like Dr. Morgan does her magic, and people come and speak with her and say, I think I would like to do that. We always do that before we open up positions to the public, and so that a lot of that has happened. So you will see some reassignments there. Mrs. Marcia Cowbold, she'll take elementary art next year. Haley McMartin will switch to second grade, coming out of SPED. Ms. Green is going from 4th grade to 1st grade, which fits super nicely with her preparation program and her early childhood. And then Ms. Hornan wants to switch from 1st grade to 2nd grade. The good news is you see we've got a couple that would have been tough to fill that we're a little worried about. So both of our English language arts positions have been filled, so that's great. Because we already had those, we had movement last month, one got reassigned to library and another one this one, so just submitted a resignation. So. And then industrial tech will be open again. Mr. Rexroad is going to be teaching math for another district next year. I don't think that was his intent at all when he signed with us, but that opportunity came along. And math was maybe more where his polling was. It's kind of where he wanted to get back into it. And so we're really grateful. He's doing some great things with kids, but we do have that one open up again as well. So we do have that.
So what are we looking for then? Because
We are-
there's so much
Yeah,
movement.
so we are currently looking for preschool, and that's early child inclusive because it's a SPED preschool, and we are advertising for an upper elementary position, and then industrial tech and special education. Could be elementary, could be middle grades, don't know. But, so.
Okay, so currently just 3 positions?
Yeah.
4. Okay.
We found some good ones, and we've had some interviews, so hopefully we're just going to take on one position at a time.
Good.
And we've had some qualified applicants, and, a few qualified applicants. We're seeing still a lot from foreign entities, but they have some good quality ones that are, what I call real. I mean, they're real.
Yeah.
They're real, but it's not what we would consider first, so.
Awesome. I will make a motion, sorry, I'm getting there, that we approve the consent agenda as presented, is that what I'm doing? Yes, sorry, I clicked way too many things. I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I know you.
Thank you, Cass.
Second.
Second, Jason, thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and vote.
Cassie Glassman,
Yes.
Chase Crowder,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Womack, Jason Arnold.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 4, curriculum instruction reports. Who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
Okay. Ms. Calvin, Mrs. Rhodes,
Yes.
whatever you prefer.
And for those who don't know me, I'm Miss Calp. I've been teaching it for 18 years, so, and I teach 5th graders and 6th graders. So I mainly teach math and science. So, and you go and introduce yourself?
I'm Mackenzie Rose and I teach 5th grade ELA and social studies and it's my first year here.
Mr. Rose, we're gonna put you on the spotlight a little bit since we haven't met you before. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? That'd be awesome.
Sure. I previously taught in Fremont Public Schools for 6 years, 4th grade for 5 and then EL, and then it was newcomers for 1 year. I have 2 boys. One is 5 and hopefully will be opted in here for kindergarten next year. And then little guy Walker who just turned 1 and the 5-year-old's Jed. I love volleyball.
Where are you from originally?
UTN.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the
No,
spot.
you're good.
We wanna learn who people are. We're like, who's that?
Well, I think you probably read the report, so I don't know if you want a PowerPoint or not. I just kind of printed one off mainly for myself, just to kind of share. We only have 2 sections of 5th grade this year. I have 10 boys and 10 girls, so that works out really good. And as far as science, we continue to use the SABIS curriculum, which is the same as the MASH curriculum, which makes it easy for the students and parents to access the web part of all that. The SABIS science has a lot of good like computer generated labs, which nowadays kids, that's their life. They just get on the computer and it's really nice and easy to connect with the real life labs. And then the reading part of the textbook is a little bit higher, especially for the 6th grade science, because 6th and 5th have the same curriculum, which we just kind of help the kids through that. It doesn't hurt them to read above grade level text, but it's also good for them, just have to, when I'm planning the lessons, I just have to know that I have to spend a little bit more time with the reading parts. I really we work with OPPD. I don't think they're here. They come in and do an energy lab every year, which is super fun about insulating homes and trapping the heat. So that's good. And I don't know if this year we're gonna get to go with what's it called? Waterworks. It's a really great program. And we didn't get to go last year, so I'm hoping this year we get to go with Waterworks. And then just some of our field studies, we go to DeSoto Bend, which is super fun. So that kind of wraps up science. And then math, again, like I said, we use the SABIS Realize. Lots of hands-on, as many hands-on activities you can with math, just to kind of keep the 5th graders engaged. The 6th graders are, it's a little bit trickier because they don't have it's hard to do box and whiskers and hard to do data like with real life stuff. So that gets taught a lot through science as well. And yeah, we just, like I said, just take a lot of daily practice and prepare for that state test in May. I'm not sure when it is yet, but they'll let us know. All right. So, give me this.
So like Carla, I have 20 students as well. I have 9 girls and 11 boys. And so for ELA, so I teach the reading and then the writing portion. So we use the MyView reading curriculum, and I believe this is the 3rd year that we've been in it. It's science of reading based, which is a really big popular movement within the reading. It's kind of more of how like you have to teach the brain how to read, and it's not just something that's automatic. It has to be explicitly taught. So my view kind of like within the upper grades, it follows it because we have like they learn about the word origins, like Greek and Latin roots, like where some of our words come from, which can help them with like those multisyllabic words. We also within that curriculum focus on some reading and writing strategies. So my main idea, character analysis, those kind of things. And then in writing, we've been focusing on different genres of writing. We've done informational writing, personal narratives, and then we are currently in argumentative writing. We assess them by like a weekly test, skill tests, quizzes, and then if we see that they're not learning, or like if I see that they're not learning, I always pull them for like intervention during my reading block or during intervention time to reinforce some of the skills. So there's small group instruction, which is skill-based, and then for those upper readers, I do some novel studies with them. And then there's grammar components, so like we just finish up prepositions, and then being able to tell the function, like if it's movement, like place, things like that. And then with student learning, there's IXLs, daily works, and then just kind of getting ready for the first yes. And then, yep. And then in social studies, we're using that Pearson realized curriculum. We do try to incorporate as many projects as we can. They did like colonial models, so they had to build a colony and pick different like aspects of it. They've had to research about European explorers and put together like a PowerPoint presentation about that. The lessons are developed based on our standards. We do a lot of discussions, notes, organizing our thoughts with graphic organizers. They're given study guides, and we review for each chapter, and then there's daily work and chapter tests and things. Yeah.
We just do little things, sweep it off the bed, that's it.
Yeah.
Just little things.
I don't think I have any questions.
I don't
actually.
either. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hart.
Well, sorry for my tired, came from practice, so.
You're all right.
So in family consumer science, I've been here for, this is year number 11, which is hard to think that I've been here that long, but it is. I teach a variety of different classes, life and career readiness. We just met, my wife who's in HR came in and talked about resumes. We have mock interview scheduled for next Monday. Mr. Kingston's gonna help out with that. Just working on some life and career readiness stuff there. They're gonna talk to you about scholarships tomorrow, application for scholarships. I have quite a few seniors in my class. Advanced foods, we just finished our region on US and Canada, different parts of the US, what influences the food from those regions, and then we're gonna go international after that. Human growth and development, we just talked about pregnancy and birth. My wife and Mrs. O'Connell came in and guest spoke about their experiences. It's pretty funny seeing some of guys' faces with some of those. But I was like, gentlemen, be ready. So, and then foods one, we're just finishing up my plate unit, talking about the different food groups. Middle school class, we're talking about managing our daily life. So today was managing your looks, tomorrow was managing your money. Just different life lessons like that. We talked about first impressions. I wanted to highlight my intro to sports med class, which was a first semester class. It was really good, successful first year. Had a lot of students in there. Worked great with our trainer Javier. He came in and taught some different taping techniques, evaluations for different injuries. We took a field trip to UNL to their exercise science. Mr. Kingston also drove a school band down to that. It was good to see some of that and hear about some of the research that they're doing down there. And I think it captured a lot of interest for some students. I know Sophie
Yeah.
was really interested in that, so looking forward to what our next steps are with that class moving forward in that pathway, so. Just highlighting it all.
Mr. Hart, I'm curious, I remember FCS used to be just food focused and nutrition. When did it shift to include mock interviews and those other?
So when I was going through college, we talked about it a lot. I took a lot of different classes, just getting me prepared for all the different and wide varieties. So I would say probably the late 2000s is when it started to make that shift. And when I started hearing Mr. Farber, who was the principal at the time, talk to me about machine sewing is kind of a thing of the past. Not really, but it's a good trait to have. He was wanting me to focus more on hand sewing, fixing buttons, darning fabric, things like that. So I think kind of around that late 2000s, early 2010s is when that shift started happening. So.
I've heard a lot lately about your class, so
Yeah.
there's that. Some of the boys from this last weekend of the birthing explanation.
Yes.
There, yeah,
Yeah.
really hit home for some of them.
I did not hold back. My wife did sometimes, but it was good. It was a good experience for those guys. I feel like they learned a lot.
Yeah, I
Some of
would
them-
agree.
Some of them, some of the girls are like, that was very interesting and really good to hear. So.
Yeah, well, I think it's nice too to pull in different perspectives, because like they hear you, not that they don't, they hear you every day,
Yeah.
but sometimes to bring in somebody else, it catches their attention more too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I can only provide one side of the story.
There you go. That too.
So, yeah.
That's perfect.
Any other questions for Mr. Hart?
Keep up the good work, everybody.
Yeah.
You guys are, feel free to leave if you would like.
Thank you.
Jason, I started that maybe we should talk about that when we're doing these reports.
Yep.
Wait,
Absolutely. We will, we're gonna move down to agenda item 9.7. And Mrs. Sharp's here to kind of give an overview of this. It'll be an action item possibly later. But Mrs. Sharp wanted to give some background of kind of how it's coming to the board.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sharp.
My computer, that's really small for me to see.
I'm going to blow it up and
Oh, good.
spin it.
Well, thanks for having me here tonight. I would like to propose to the board, a proposal for the special education department.
Where do you want me to start? This page first?
Let's do that one first. Looking at, special education population growth over the last 5 years. So looking at 2021 to 22 school year. If you look in the light blue columns, the very bottom number is our K-12 student population with IEPs. So in 2022, at the end of that school year, we had 72 students with IEPs. Jump to 24-25, we started the year with 88, we're currently at 95 students on IEPs. And looking at beginning of next year, we're anticipating 103 students with IEPs. So as you can see, that bottom row. And again, that's K through 12. Preschool is not included in that, and our speech students are not included in that. So their speech only is not included. So this is only students with resource or services. Does that make sense? So when looking at our student population with IEPs, you've seen a big increase since 2021. If you look in the more of the purpley columns, we have a rubric that we go through with each of our students on IEPs just to kind of gauge where they are and how many service minutes they need, how much assistance they need in the classroom. And with that rubric, we're able to kind of figure out where our needs are. And as you can see, that number has increased the last couple of years. We've had a lot of students come in with a lot higher needs. So not only is our number increasing of the amount of students in special education, but their needs are also really increasing along with that.
And again, this does not include preschool.
And this does not include preschool at all. So even though there's some preschool numbers on there, I did not include them in the total. And then the very bottom number is our speech-only students. So again, I did not include those in the total, just because that doesn't affect the resource teachers as much. So going down, I had all of our special education teachers go through their caseloads and work through the rubric with looking at each of their students' needs, their service minutes, how much time they're working with students. And with that, we had a scale and punch that all in, do all the math, and it tallies the number of teachers that would be required if we keep our caseloads with our rubric numbers, our weighted numbers, 24 for elementary teachers, 28 for our middle school teachers, and for high school teacher caseloads of 30 points each. Kind of shows what teachers would be required. We currently have 4 teachers in the elementary in special education, and we currently have 3 special education teachers in the high school. One of those is Jamie, so she has a level 3 classroom, which is more self-contained, which leaves us with 2 other teachers for the rest of our special education population for middle school and high school. So what I would like to propose and have you guys consider is hiring an additional special education teacher to help support that middle school population. Looking at next year, we have 12 students moving into the middle school, and we're graduating 3. So it's like shift. So we're moving 93 students up.
Especially where we're already a little bit low.
We're making a shift. We also have 6 preschool students that we currently know of that will be in kindergarten with IEPs. Elementary is our area that we typically add more students throughout the year. This year alone, we've qualified 9 additional students through the MTSS process or parent request. 6 of those were in elementary, 3 were in middle school. So we anticipate 103 students at the beginning of the school year. I also anticipate that number getting larger as the year goes on.
Dr. Lewis, can you go back to the first?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharp, that big jump we saw in points from 22, 23 to 23, 24, does that have anything to do with new rules around what's classified as IEPs? What was the reason for the big jump that year?
So 23 to 20, 22, 23 to 23, 24, we had a large number of students move into the district with IEPs that
Got it, okay,
with significant needs.
Yeah,
got
and
it.
so you can see where like the jump went from 69 to 95. During that school year, the amount of students with IEPs, and that's where we went from points also 127 to 210. So
Got it.
it's almost 100 more points. I mean, that's 83 more points than we had the year before. I do think we added a staff either that year or the year after.
Not special education teacher. I was the last special education teacher.
For some reason, I thought maybe we just shifted.
We usually the
Shifted.
numbers game and try to
Mhm.
bake farms, you know.
Gotcha. And Mrs. Sharp, looking at the chart,
Mhm.
you know, there's obviously a percentage increase from 22 to 23 to possible 25, 26.
Mhm.
And it looks like we're having more students and we're having more students with more stuff going on. Is that fair to say?
Yes, yeah. So service minutes are increasing, which is requiring more time with a special education teacher.
Do you foresee this? I know it's hard to get a crystal ball in this area, but I would assume where education's going, K-12 and IEPs, and I think everybody will agree here that Arlington does a really good job in this area, that this is going to be a continued, I don't see these numbers going down anytime soon. I guess it's going good now.
No, and I think there has been a bigger push for especially the mental health side of things. So, you're adding that.
You know, 10 years ago, you didn't give a student with behavioral health issues an IEP. you served them maybe with a 504, or you just did a behavior plan with them, and now you're doing IEPs. Our sped population has consistently been right about the state average. It's a little bit lower than some schools around us, but we've always been, so we know that this is what other schools are seeing across the state too. Because if we're running state average just about every year and we're seeing this kind of growth, we know what's happening.
So how hard is it to find a person to fit this?
Well, that's
Is
a
it a bridge to cross? That's a bridge.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it a little bit more when we actually get down to that too. But again, fortunately, they've increased the reimbursement that we get for our special education costs. And there's this little concept or idea called maintenance of efforts. We do have to spend more on special education every year, which is pretty easy to do, to be honest with you. But it won't hurt as bad as if we were just adding another teacher to the general budget, because sped expenses are outside of our budget authority. So if we can increase that without running into this, like we do with the general fund budget.
I don't think I have any additional questions. I think, does anybody else have? Okay.
What's the reimbursement? Is it 80%? 80% now, yeah. Unless something changes, it looks like it's
Thank you for coming, Mr. Sharp. It'll be, we'll talk about it a little later in the meeting, but I think you gave us all enough information to
Yeah, if you
pursue.
have any other questions, just
Absolutely.
reach out.
Thank you for coming, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We will jump back up to agenda item 5, principal's report, and we'll go with Mr. Kingston.
Okay. Thank you. Just highlighting a couple things from students over the past month, FFA Honor Choir. So just a congratulations there to those students who are recognized in FFA Honor Choir. We had our spelling bee, actually the district spelling bee. We had the runner-up was Cove Workman. She was our champion here. So they did a great job. We have parent-teacher conferences coming up this week. So Wednesday, Thursday, ours are in the new gym. Mrs. Toft is going to include a session halfway through each night, just about a lot of registration for next year, and what we're doing, talking to kids about maybe something that parents have asked for a little bit more information, or they can get a little bit more at that time. Is how that process works, because we're beginning the process of building the schedule for next year. That's quite a process, but that's one big piece of it, is how many kids are signed up for which classes. Part of that will be the electives fair that allows us to have the students meet the teachers of those electives classes, and then their goal sheets of what they maybe see themselves being and doing in the future, and what their interests are and things like that, and trying to match those up and work those when they get to high school through their 4-year plan with Mrs. Toft. So a lot of things that connect to their really their pathway through middle school, but especially high school, and then into post-secondary or training or education. And then wanted to highlight one student that kind of maybe doesn't get noticed as much, not the student, but the program that he's doing. Goes to Metro for power sports and outdoor power technology. And there was an event sponsored by MCC, the Invitational, where they kind of get to show off their talents in front of their MCC staff and things like that, but also some from industry that ultimately can lead them to maybe a job. They at least get known that way. And he's doing a heck of a job for us that way. So, and for his career goals. So, just trying to highlight a few areas where we try to meet those needs of students. I won't have it on this one, but I'll try to have some pictures next month. They already did it. You'll see there's a Pure, Nebraska on KOL and KGIN report that 2 of our students, they won the Corn Challenge. So they were able to go on Pure Nebraska on Friday and talked to, I believe his name's Scott Vanderford, on the news station about their project. So that was Aaron Fuchs and Ethan Cunningham. So if you didn't get a chance to see that, I'll show you some pictures and things like that. It was pretty cool event, and tell you, Aaron and Ethan did a great job too. But Aaron, he can talk about that forever, and like he just when he's in the zone, he's just in the zone. He'll tell you everything about that corn plot. So, so it is very cool. So if you look out there, I believe the title of the segment is Pure Nebraska. That's on KOL and KGL. I'm sure it's on the website or YouTube that you can find. That was on Friday if you're looking at the date. So
Perfect. Any questions for Mr. Kingston? Dr. Morgan?
All right, we got lots of stuff going too. Mr. Kingston and I talked about spelling bee, so I'll kind of gloss over mine. Spelling bee there, and then soaring students for January, their picture and their yard signs. Good looking group. We celebrated soaring behavior. Students who earned 25 bracelets got to participate in the glow dance party. It was a lot of fun and not too many bumps and bruises for dancing in the dark, so good stuff there. Did have our unified basketball game. The elementary unified team participated in that here at halftime of the girls' basketball game. So there's a picture of all those fun folks. We did kick off our Kids American Heart Challenge. Students are working to raise money for the American Heart Association. Our goal is $8,000 this year. Mr. Eckhart found a duck because the theme is something with ducks. He's also got a duck whistle thing that he randomly walks around the halls with right now, which is also not disturbing in any way, shape, or form. So it's good stuff. Good stuff there.
Picture Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
That's all I picture.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Did celebrate the 100th day of school. Students were 100 years old. If you saw any of them in the hall, I feel like I may look 100 compared to the way they looked 100. So, and then this past week was National Guidance Counselor Week. So celebrating Mr. Krause and all that he's doing with some popcorn, treats, and Chex Mix. So there you go. I think that's it. We're just celebrating all over the place. Good stuff happening.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Lewis.
Dr. Morgan.
Sorry, I was looking at
We
one.
thank you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Shane is not here. He has given the board report a lot of pictures, a lot of content there. Was there anything you wanted to add on that, Dr. Lewis?
I think Mr. Kingston did quite a bit of stuff. There's a nice list there from FFA if you want to read through the list of some of the honors that our students have done. It's pretty long, so I'm not going to read them all, but there's some good pictures in there. And a nice list of some awards that they've won. There's a cast list for the Music Man. That is a production that will be near the mid to end part of March. It's a great musical, a lot of fun. You'll probably recognize some of the songs. And we have a lot of talented kids in there, so they're spending hours getting that all ready to go.
One thing I was gonna ask Mr. Shea is repainting the stripes on the track.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he and I have talked about that. He had reached out to one company to get them to come out and give us an estimate on that. We're also weighing it out with, we're probably 2 years down the road for a resurface on that because they have a life of, 9 to 10 years. And so anyway, but yes, that is something that he and I have talked about, and he was reaching out to, I think, Midwest to make some more track for the costs on the lines on those. They look fine when you're running on them, but when you're up on the top, you can't really see them that long.
So noticed last year they had the little orange cones at the finish
Yeah.
line, so.
And I know there was a couple of times last year that kids didn't know where the finish was.
Yep.
They're getting paid.
Perfect.
Yep.
Good deal.
We'll move on to agenda item 6, superintendent's report. Quite a bit, Dr. Lewis.
Got a few things. So first of all, we need to discuss the reinvention or revision of the community engagement meeting. Because we all know what happened last week, we had ice, and so we didn't want to take the risk of having people come out when it was icy. We were doing our best to keep everything cleared around here, but there were still spots on the streets that were slick and it was still coming down. about the time we would have started, and Caden had to drive all the way in from Lincoln, so we didn't think it was wise to have that. So, Chase and I met with Caden, and I emailed you a date last Friday, actually, for Thursday. I can email that.
Yes.
Things that we do know are coming up. He is going to come to the retreat on March 4th with the reworked data from last year's surveys. He's going to meet with the admin team here at school before we do that, so he's gonna come on the 4th. And then the next date we could tentatively find, or maybe we could get everybody in, when we are all in the same room looking at all our calendars, looks like potentially into April, which would be a month after the retreat instead of a month before the retreat, which is not the worst thing. We were avoiding home games. I do believe there were some away events on that afternoon and evening. The other thing that we could do, and the reason we kind of got late, was because there's going to be some dates when Caitlin is gone. I know that doesn't look ideal, but we can reach out to NASB and see if they can send somebody in lieu of Caitlin, because he is gone the 19th through the 26th of March. So if those look like better dates for everyone, something in that week, if you could let me know.
That just seems really late.
It does feel
Like, that's just. Yeah.
well, he was booked, and then Chase is gonna be gone for a while, and then he's gonna be gone for a while. And then we're right into track and baseball season.
I can't remember. Now, we looked at, Cass was just pulling up the activity calendar, she had
Mhm.
March 18th pulled up. I know we talked about that week, but I can't remember.
Well, Caden is leaving on the 19th, he's gonna be gone.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
Okay, I couldn't remember. And I know
and I think something.
he's got
was-
other meetings in northeast Nebraska. I know
Yeah,
that got
I
brought
think
up, too.
he's not, he's got other meetings scheduled.
So we went through the whole activity calendar, and then we went through NASB's calendar. It was not fun, to say the least, because we just kept getting further and further out. So we can either, first, I guess the question is, does anybody have any conflicts on the evening of April 3rd? I guess is the first question. Okay. One.
I know you said he leaves the 19th
Yes, but I think he was booked on the 18th.
and he's booked on 18th. Okay, because I'm like, the 18th looks okay.
I think he's in northeast Nebraska.
Okay.
How about back up to the 11th?
That is tomorrow.
March.
March,
Okay.
yeah.
Not that quick.
You lost me.
Tomorrow.
I'm just thinking.
Is that when you're?
I was out of country. Yeah,
Okay.
That got planned a year ago. You guys can do it. I mean, if you would rather do it sooner. I think at this point, I don't think we're gonna be able to get the whole board regardless.
Try to just pick a day and go with it.
Is that potential for, is that in between district and state basketball, the 11th?
It's the night before.
Well,
District is
don't-
already set, and then districts is the next day.
No, that'd be state
Yeah,
basketball.
you could maybe like,
I think it's boys.
Boys state basketball would
The
be the
second
next
week.
day.
Yeah.
Okay,
So there would be,
so the 12th would be the first round of boys state basketball, so the 11th should not have any basketball, and wrestling will be
How
on.
long is it?
Okay.
I got no problem with the 11th.
You get back on the 13th?
Well, let me, if you don't mind us exploring a possible date without you here, Chase, I could ask him about the 11th.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll include you in the email.
Either way, one board member's gonna be gone for sure, 'cause
Yeah.
no matter which way.
It's hard.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Your NSP and NERCSA reports are attached for you to take a look at. My lead log is also attached for you to review. Let's pull it up. You can see I put my use of time up there, and then the meetings that I have where I'm out of town on the year on there as well, so. I've had a couple in the past couple of weeks, that have been half-day events. Legislative updates, we're gonna move on to that, and I'll go quickly through some bills that have become priorities that would impact education. Of course, there's many, many more than this, I think they dropped 700 and some bills, but. So what we're watching carefully now that look like they had some traction, that we were concerned about, LB 389. So that's the ESU levy authority. So they don't have much levy authority, they only have 1.5 cents. But they're able to generate because like in ESU's district is all of the schools that contain. So for that 1.5 cents, it's not much for us. Larry Ann Polk is the director of the coordinating council, and she basically gave it to us like on your typical home, it's like $15 a year. So, not much, just over $1 a month. But for them, that's so useful. It generates millions of dollars of taxes that they collect and then provide services for us. So, the services that we get from our service unit include our networking for all of our new people, the MTSS support, our technology support, purchase of services that if we don't have enough personnel to staff, for example, it'll be a bad example, but our speech language path, we could purchase additional hours from them or school psych or something like that. We have all of that too, but professional development and support of new teachers, mentoring programs, things like that. So really what they do is invaluable to us. And so there is a bill there that we want to oppose, which is LB 389. Especially cybersecurity too, everybody moves down, and our mental health grants all flow through our service unit. So there've been bills in the past that were basically disbanding the service units. This one just takes away the levy authority. So we really need them to keep that levy authority. So I believe that was going through the revenue committee, I believe. So if you feel compelled, you could email members of the revenue committee and urge them to not advance the 89 because that's important. Possible changes to TIOSA and LB 303. I took some notes. What this would do, it would increase foundation aid by 6%. So that currently is $1,500 a student. That would go up to $1,590 per student. It drops your local effort rate, which is currently $1, down to 97 cents, and drops the max levy to $1.02, which is currently $1.05. It creates a base levy adjustment. So this would impact state aid to districts if their levy would drop below 40 cents. And that sounds, unbelievable, right? That there are schools out west that have levies that are right around that or less. And then it creates a finance commission, the school finance commission, that actually includes people from the school community and not just revenue forecasters and senators, which is currently what they use to kind of shape these bills. So this would incorporate, I believe there's a list of things, but there's a couple people from the NDE, there's superintendent reps or school board reps, just things like that, people that are actually dealing with the changes that they're proposing to make. So with the changes that are proposed to LB 303, it's not a huge impact to us. We stand to the first forecast revenues that we had or the first model of TIOSA for next year. We would lose $60,000. This bill gets us basically back that $60,000. It's just in that extra $90 per student in foundation rate. So kind of brings us back to where we were. And their hope is with this, we get to a point where the highs and the lows of the levies, the districts that are levying consistently $1.05 plus everything and bonds beyond that, and the districts that are levying, 28 cents. We can bring those closer together. So this one is sponsored by Jan and Hughes. It wasn't a huge impact to my budget. We didn't really do anything other than bring back what we were currently doing. The other ones that we're watching, LB 300, which is the Superintendent Pay Act. The language on that has been reversed. It came out saying that a superintendent could not make more than 5 times in the start of a teacher's salary. Now it's flipped and it says a beginning teacher cannot make less than 20% of what the superintendent is making. So, because he said the intent of the bill was to raise teacher pay. And then they said, well, why are you making it punitive towards superintendents? If that's your intent, change the language. So that actually came from the conversation with some people, so.
Only affects, geez, how many school districts that can affect?
Well, not me.
No, no.
Like somebody asked me if I was gonna be concerned. There are probably, there's talk that maybe just Lincoln and Omaha, but I know that there's a few more that aren't that far away in proximity to us that would also be impacted.
Okay.
Because it's not just the salary, it's everything that the compensation is.
Got it.
So it's the salary, it's benefits, it's cell phones and vehicles and all of those, it's everything, so. Anyway, so they flipped the language on that, so it now, rather than saying a superintendent can't make more than that, it says a teacher can't make less than, so.
So Lincoln and Omaha will come out very strongly opposed to that, because they don't have the money to raise all those teacher salaries to 20% of their superintendents.
Well, the thing that probably you need to consider a little bit more than that is the Lincolns and Omahas have different salary structures, and so where they might have a pretty high starting rate, their structure of their salary schedule doesn't move you very quickly. So when we had a meeting last week, and I was at, for NCSA, I said, have they discussed not using the starting rate, but like your midpoint or your average pay? Because the average pay at some of the schools that have salary schedules and that is not that much less, than a starting. But for us, if we used our average teacher pay is significantly higher than the very first year with just a bachelor's degree. It's just a big difference there. Whereas when your base is $50,000, but maybe you only get $400 a year, not 4% a year, you don't move very quickly. So anyway, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, no, it's. I know they said specifically it's a Lincoln and Omaha bill, but there are some superintendents on that part from this that their package would be significantly higher than the base for their teachers here. So, there's still some conversation about the sale of school lands. We're really hopeful that does not go through. Let's see what else we have here. The LB 89, which is the Stand with Women Act. I've got clarification on that. That's really, it's a reinvention of the sports and spaces, if you recall that. So I don't know what legs that has right now. Another opportunity scholarship bill has been reintroduced, which there's not much stomach for that because it's been 2 or 3 years now and the people voted no, and yet he brought it back again. So that was LB 509, but I don't see that really going anywhere. LB 645 was a change to the retirement. It stair-steps down the state contribution, so the state is statutorily required to contribute 2%.
Yep.
To this would say, if your plan is well-funded, we're gonna contribute less to your plan, which would have the effect then of costing your employers and your school district more, because the employers are already paying 9.78 and the school district's paying 9.88. Well, if the state puts kicking in their contribution, it's gonna be more out of the paychecks of our people and more out of the school district. Because you don't stay at that high rate of fundedness without everybody contributing, right? So anyway, I think that's where we're at right now. That's everything. And then the possible change to the postcard hearing. First it was just the superintendent had to attend. Last year, if you had to attend the postcard hearing, you had to also bring an elected member, so you had to bring a board member with you. And now there's a proposed change that the majority of the board would be required to attend the postcard hearing if your district qualifies for the joy of that. So.
Make sure they hand out short sticks for everybody.
Short sticks, yeah. Oh, I had to flip my page. One other, LB 140 is, would require schools to develop a policy that basically bans the use of cell phones, and LB 31 would be a bill that would allow like opt out of surveillance, which is super difficult because cameras are everywhere. Everywhere you go. So,
Yeah.
anything on your radar? Because I know you've been there.
No, it's a mess.
Oh, yeah.
It's a mess.
It's our mess though.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing is they're in a $432 million shortfall. And then tax receipts were up 100 million last month. I think they're waiting for the next report that should come out soon to see if they can bridge that deficit gap a little more. But I think depending on what that looks like will dictate how much cuts are coming in the Unicam and where they come with those cuts. I think Dr. Lewis's overview of the NPERS bill was an item they looked at and said, hey, we can cut here to meet the deficit. I don't think I've ever seen a pension fund get scrutinized for being well-funded before. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's 99% funded right now, which is unheard of. The Omaha has got, so OPS is a standalone, they have their own plan, but the plans basically mirror each other, and it's also under the same umbrella of the public employees, and theirs, I believe, is below 80% funded. It might be in the 70s somewhere.
Yeah.
But its fundedness, they're basically going broke. They can't afford, they have way more liabilities than they have people paying into their retirement system. So we've got this great plan, and they're like, is that good? You don't need us.
Yeah.
Or they just don't want to. Anyway.
So they'll be looking for a lot of cuts, is the best way to say it. Yeah, so. Title IX changes, Dr. Lewis.
Yeah, so we just got done in December, the second reading adopting the new Title IX policy that we were required to adopt. And then, Trump was.
Swiftly.
Yes,
Risen.
Trump was sworn into office and immediately did an executive order to rescind all of the changes into the Title IX policy. So our lawyers have told us that our policies are fine, but it's our procedures that will change. So we don't have to rescind the policy that we just adopted and go back to the 2020 version, but there will be new procedures coming out. So they will get those to us as soon as they get a little bit more guidance from the federal government. So it's fun. The Arbor Family semi-usage report. So this is the first semester. If you take just a quick look at that, we won't look at it long, but you can see the usage at Christmas or through December was just shy of what our total year usage was last year. So total for 23-24 school year, we had 32 referrals, and semi-year or through December this year, we already had 24. So that's great. I mean, we need to make those resources available to people. We have a counselor here on site who does a really nice job working with students, and we're getting more referrals, so that's what we want it to be used for. So we'll look forward to the final report on that. And then discussion of that final payment on the lease purchase. So you saw we have one more payment that will get made about this time last year. I brought it up, so we have a couple of options. We have enough money in the special building fund actually to make the last payment. And if we do that, we'll save about $5,500 in interest. But if we leave the $370,000 in the account for one more year and just make it unscheduled, that money will earn us about $11,000 if the interest rate doesn't drop. So we'll end up making back the interest. So if that makes sense. So what I might do is watch, and if the interest rate, because it has dipped a little bit on that account, if the interest rate drops below where that is, going to be the scenario anymore within the next couple of months, I might ask to make that payment early and just retire that.
Yeah, Dr. Lewis brought this up, and we kind of went back and forth about this, and I'll let the board kind of discuss it, because I think anytime you can get money off the books, it's a good thing, but then you can make more money off interest. It's not a lot of money, but it's some money. So we kind of we were leaning towards gaining the interest, but I'll open it up for any discussion. But I don't think we had an opinion one way or the other really heavily. We just were leaning that way very slightly, just with the extra interest earning it. But
We're all about getting rid of debt.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's such a low, because it's only like 1.5% or something.
Yeah, the loan, it might even be less than 1% when we refinanced it. The total costs are like, yeah, just over 1. And right now the interest rate on that account is between 3 and 4. It was between 4 and 5 about 6 months ago, so it's come down just a little bit, but still, it's not a wash anymore.
no,
It's still making more than.
yeah. I think that makes sense to leave it in there. If it's gonna earn more money than it would be saving us, then we should leave it in there, just keep watching it.
What I think if we're gonna add on, if there's any shop, whatever,
Future plans.
yeah, we're a long ways from
Yeah.
getting bids, so this, even
Mhm.
next year, this time will be gone. So,
Mhm.
yeah. I don't
It's not
think we
gonna
need to
hurt us to keep
free
it
up
open
money right
either,
away.
yeah.
Right.
I would agree.
Okay, well, if something changes and that dramatically drops, like if that drops below 2% in that account, I might make the suggestion that we just take care of it.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'll keep my eye on it.
all right. Moving on to agenda 7 and 7.1 committee representative reports. 7.1, I believe the Committee for American Civics just met prior to the board meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to Shannon.
Yeah, so American Civics, the school is fulfilling their civic duty by saying the Pledge of Allegiance every day, celebrating or observing federal holidays. They representatives from school classes. Is it just government classes?
Just government for this.
Come to watch a board meeting. Is this or the village board, right?
Either this
Any
or that.
meeting, yep.
And then we talked about the adoption cycle. This is fine arts and visual arts year, and we kind of had a conversation about money being spent both for curriculum for those classes, and then what to do when we have needs that come up. I would defer to you guys a little bit on some big ticket items that don't necessarily, like, you don't need a kiln necessarily on the year that you have this pot of money. So what can we do to kind of put us in a position later on where we have the money and we need these big ticket items? So it sounds like maybe that's something that's
Yeah.
been topic of conversation.
Yeah, so, yeah, because we're in music and art and world language, and kind of know what they want. The amount that we budget for curriculum adoption every year is about 120,060 on each level, so elementary and secondary. So what they're asking for is coming in for less than that. So all in, likely going to be less than $50,000. But we also know that there's reoccurring expenses with all of these areas, not all these areas, but music and fine arts or visual art in particular, where they might have increased yearly expenses and they might need a big ticket item every now and then. So we discussed moving some excess funds that we have budgeted for curriculum adoption into depreciation with the earmark that we can pull that out 2 years down the road if we need a brand new instrument or we need a new calendar or something like that. To be able to fund those in the future. And now Aaron talk a little bit about the curriculum that they're asking for that you will see next month.
So especially the main one is through music, our band and choir. They already use digital resources that they request for in their yearly budgets. It allows kids to record themselves playing or singing, different things like that. Is just an example. So I believe next month you'll see the full-on request for this digital platform to be a 7-year subscription, that kind of captures that. And instead of asking for this piece and this piece and this piece in department budgets, to have that be their curriculum budget and make it more succinct and more sustainable over the course of the 7 years. So a lot of what it is they're already asking for it and budgeting for it in their department budgets. So this would be a 7-year plan for that. And I believe the cost for high school was $22,000 over the course of 3 years, or excuse me, 3 years, 7 years. You're talking just over $3,000 a year for 175 student licenses. And then elementary was
Just over 13.
yeah. There's some lesson planning resources and there's a variety of different things that are obviously our music teachers can speak to that a little bit better. But that's what they're requesting. So. And then Dr. Lewis captured what happens if and when we need this big ticket item and, we got Clay to be fired and the kiln goes out or, stuff. There's nothing behind the scenes or like that's about to happen. But just because the curriculum cycle doesn't mean, well, we should buy something just in case, or, well, we didn't buy it and now we're 4 years down and we don't really have the money for that. So that's kind of what we're talking about.
Kind of just to put it in perspective, reading is every 7 years, it's definitely, you use that entire
Yeah.
120.
So we know that.
This is less, but could be more.
So I believe you'll see the request for that next month's board meeting.
How'd that happen,
What's that?
to be that cheap?
Oh, the music, it's
Yeah.
not papers, it's not books,
Yeah.
it's not, it's not teachers' manuals, and here's your lesson books, and here's all of
And you
that.
got
And they get music, so music, like they're gonna do the whatever, walk of the
Yes.
dinosaurs or whatever.
Okay.
They're still requesting sheet music and things like that through their department budget.
No.
So it does look a little different, because, and the costs of that are only going up because of copyright and all kinds of different things, and you can't just take it and go run copies on a copy machine, whatever else, we do things right, so that budget, there's still that, so that's kind of,
Yeah. they're-
curricular, but they budget for that in their annual year-to-year budget.
That's what I was
So,
getting.
That's a good,
And
there's,
so,
some of those costs are lost there in this curriculum cycle, because we're not gonna budget for whatever music we're gonna sing for the next 7 years.
There you go.
So, yeah. Yep.
and that's what I was alluding to when I said some of the programs are just more expensive
Yeah.
than a typical year anyway, because,
It's a good question.
because of that. So,
Very good. We'll need to go over that next month. It sounds good. 7.2 negotiations. This will be some action items later on.
Is that wrestling?
It's just so quiet.
It's cute.
Brian, Cass, and I met January 28th.
Good.
But those will be all action items we can kind of discuss here in a little bit. We don't have any unfinished business. Agenda item 9, new business, 9.1. Discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve early retirement incentive program application and agreement from Gail Bar. Dr. Lewis.
Yes, you accepted her resignation, and I have her letter and her application here. They're not attachments to the board meeting because they're personnel documents, but, so she is the only one who's applied for the incentive, this year. We can grant up to two per year, the first two. And so she's the only one that's requested this year, and she meets the eligibility criteria. She's in the first 2 to 3 years of her eligibility, so depending on the years of service they've had, so. Just need a motion to-
Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve early retirement incentive program application for Gail Bar.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Let's vote.
Chase Craddock.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Sharon Nealon. Yes. Susan Arden.
Yes.
Kathy Felster.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 9.2, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve request for leave of absence by certificated staff member, Dr. Lewis.
And this is the first time we've had this in a very, very long time. We do have a board policy that allows, for a staff member to request a leave of absence. It's after a minimum of 3 years working for us, they may apply for a 1-year leave of absence. So what this does is it, basically it guarantees that they have a job with us should they choose to return the next year or they plan to return the next year. It doesn't necessarily state that the job will be exactly the position that they vacated, but, Mrs. Fairhead is requesting a leave of absence and she's got a letter here. She does meet the criteria set forth in the policy and, we're actually looking at that position already and interviewing to get that filled, so. But it does appear that there's going to be suitable, qualified applicants to fill that role.
So, okay,
The only question I had with this, and maybe Jason, I don't know if that's the direction I'm going, was, so we're filling the spot she's taking a leave for, and then if she just chooses to come back after the year, what if there are no spots available?
So the language is, it's not guaranteed the same position, however, an effort will be made to arrange for the same or a comparable position. So what we would do is look at her certifications and offer what we had available. The chances that there will not be anything that she is certificated to teach open at the time, pretty unlikely,
Okay,
yeah. Do you remember what her certifications were?
She is certified elementary and middle school.
I thought, yeah, because I knew it went beyond
Got it.
that, so.
There's very high probability somewhere
Got
in K through 8.
Either through, yeah, either through a retirement or moving on, yeah.
got it. So, Dr. Morgan, you feel pretty comfortable, and, because it'd be a worst case scenario, obviously, she leaves and then we don't have anywhere to put her. And obviously, we don't want to create a position because of the financial burden if it's on the district.
Well, you're looking at this mid-season too, right? You're talking like now.
Would she be,
No,
no,
she'll
she's
be
requesting
getting
it for
next
next
year.
school
Oh,
year.
next year.
She'll
Okay.
complete, yeah, she'll
Okay.
complete this contract, which
Okay.
would be next year.
and then when,
Taking some time off.
just to add to Chase, when does she have to decide whether coming back or not?
We would probably issue her a contract and she would have the same frame of time. So we issue contracts soon. We request them turned in, on or shortly after March 15th. So.
You would still have time if,
Yes, and Jason, if I knew January 1st that we were gonna have a third grade job because of movement, I would contact her and say, what are you thinking? Because obviously, we've been very fortunate to get great applicants because we've gotten the jobs out early.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel, hate to say it out loud, but in 10 years, I've never not hired at least one person. Actually, I've never not hired less than 2. So
Okay,
I feel fairly confident on the elementary side that we would be able to
Okay.
have something if we needed to.
So the staff's good with it. Okay.
Yeah, she's been on the staff already, I believe.
Yeah.
okay. I'll make a motion to approve the request for 1-year leave of absence by Mrs. Nicole Fairhead.
second,
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Let's vote.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Allen, Jason Art,
yes.
Cassie Glassman,
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Agenda item 9.3, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to purchase Tomcat Pro Rideable Floor Cleaner as presented. So going back to Cassie's early on comment, this purchase falls above the threshold the board's established. And Dr. Lewis, I'll turn it over to you for a little bit of context.
So this is the rideable floor cleaner that Sylvia pretty much exclusively uses every day, multiple times. It does our hallways, it does lunchroom, it does gyms when necessary, all of those things. So it gets used morning, noon, night. And it's loud. It's gotten so loud We actually looked at replacing it last year and we just didn't pull the trigger on it. And we did some repairs to the ones we've had, but it's been a long, long time. It hasn't been since I've been here. That we've gotten, a new one. So this is, the price on this one. This is basically the replacement of what she's got right now. It's just the new version. The price was $17,510, and they're giving us a $3,000 trade in on the one that she's driving right now.
What's his service estimate? Is it just like,
So the original price was $14,721. The service estimate.
That's
I
all that
think was-
information on the trade-in.
Yeah, that's all the information on the trade.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, I was looking at that
If that
too.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's for the trade-in.
So the original price of that one that we bought was $14,000 and then the service estimate. So anyway,
And this is in the budget.
yeah, it's in purchase of equipment and maintenance of facilities. We have a $15,000 line item there. I knew we were probably gonna need to do that. So. And I targeted, I hope it's 15,000 or less.
She could not do that, her job without disrupting tests and everything with the machines, please. Let's take care of Sylvia, please.
No, I think this is pretty straightforward. Obviously, we're seeing it because of the amount. It's in the budget. It's something that gets heavily used. So I'll make a motion to purchase Tomcat Pro Rideable floor cleaner as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let's go.
Shannon Malone. Yes. Jason Arp.
yes.
Cassie Foster.
Yes.
Chase Crandall.
Yes.
Brian Walker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Agenda item 9.4, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve 2025-2027 superintendent contract with Dr. Don Lewis as discussed and publicized according to statute. So, as I indicated, committee met on January 28th and went over all admin contracts. First one here we're seeing is Dr. Lewis's. So as has been procedure in the past, what we do when we look at admins, their contracts, we look at an arrays like we do with the certificated staff. We use the same arrays we do with certificated staff. However, that dynamic may be changing a little bit now since we didn't really use arrays a lot with the AEA this past year, but we still use the same, so we're comparing apples to apples. We look at education, we look at years in that particular position, and compare it to average years, education, and other school districts. And then obviously we look at the job those individuals are doing here in the district. As we said when we discussed this, one of the few scope of responsibilities the board have is to evaluate Dr. Lewis. The board did this past fall with their evaluation tool. Dr. Lewis received a copy of that. All you received her comments on that. So the team came up with the contract that I emailed to everybody. I know I got a couple of clarifying questions, just technical questions answered from some board members, but just changing a little bit in her language and then her salary. It will be at the end of it technically a savings to the district with some changes going on there. But I will kind of open it up for anybody, Brian or Cass, if you want to add anything about Dr. Lewis's proposal we have here.
I think the email that Chase had sent to kind of give us some overview was really good. It's nice to have some background before we get into vote on things, which is nice. We had a really good discussion on everyone's contracts that we're looking at this year, all the time. So yeah, we feel really confident with Dr. Lewis and so we proposed what we did.
Brian, do you have anything you wanted to add? I know it's
Sounds good. I think,
first year you kind of getting into this, but
Yeah.
no, I think it's good.
okay. Jason, anything? Nope. Okay. Jan, anything? Okay. With that, I'll make a motion to approve 2025-2027 superintendent contract with Dr. Don Lewis as presented.
I will second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Let's vote.
Jason Martin.
Yes.
Cassie Glassman.
Yes.
Chase Crandall.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Shannon Moore.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Agenda item 9.5, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve principal contracts as presented with a 3.07% total package increase. Same comments, a little different here. One of the scopes of the board is not to evaluate Mr. Shada, Dr. Morgan, or Mr. Finkston. We rely on input from Dr. Lewis and obviously our interactions with them. But same thing, we use the same arrays, look at years of service, all that stuff. And these ones, obviously with 3 positions, they're very different across the board with years of experience. There's just a little more fluid in these 3, I think, when you look at the arrays in the school
There's
district.
a little more movement, there's more this year that were first years than there have been for quite some time.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, our administrators are becoming the seasoned veterans in their position. There's lots of first, second, and third year people in those positions, so it gets a little tricky, but.
Yeah, I think Mr. Finkston, you're the only one that's below the average on years of service. So you need to apparently.
Stick it out.
a lot of
Stick it
people-
out.
Yeah.
They're not going
So I will
anywhere.
say though, that there's
There's
one,
a change at the top.
there is a change at the top, the guy that had like 36 years or something like that is taking a new position, won't be in the array anymore, so it's gonna bring down the average.
So challenge accepted.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, just couldn't do anything, just like, yeah.
Or if maybe you work twice as hard, you can accumulate.
There we
So
go.
There
currently
you
there's a
go.
lot of longevity in secondary principals. It was, but, no, and that mirrors the EA total package increase. That's where you'll see that. But I'll open up to Cass and Brian as well before the whole board. Just any other thoughts that you guys have?
I'm good with it.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. I mean, at length.
Yeah, our meeting was lengthy.
So that was probably my fault. I'll take full responsibility. But I mean, we had really good discussion, and I mean, we don't take it lightly because we know what we're dealing with when it's the budget. I mean, these are big parts of it. So that's why it takes so long to do the teachers' contracts and why we, look into our administrative team so much too. I mean, they're all super important, obviously. So, and we don't take presenting these amounts to the board lightly. So there was a lot of consideration that went into these.
Real quick, I do want to add, because I think it's important, our array for our certificated staff, we should, barring a miracle that maybe have already happened, be at the top of our array for our certificated staff. And you'll see from what I sent out, none of our administration is at the top of their array. And I think that's important to note because it shows where a lot of the focus is and where we put a lot of attention on our certificated staff. They make up the bulk. It's a big number, and the teachers are in those classrooms. So I think that focus. I do not think it's misguided where we have that alignment and how that looks. Jason or Shannon, any questions or anything? Okay. I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the principal contracts as presented with a 3.07. Let's start over. Yeah, Jackie just fell out of her chair. I read too fast. Let's start over. Calm down.
That's the the top, the favorite board member.
I will make a motion to approve the principal contracts as presented with a 3.07% total package increase for Mr. Finkston, Dr. Morgan, and Mr. Shada as presented.
All right.
I'll second
I
that.
move second. Thank you, Cass and Brian. Is there any further discussion? Let's vote.
Cassie Fosner,
Yes.
Chase Craddock,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Art.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Agenda item 9.6, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve certificated director contracts for 2025, 2026. So this, you'll see a little different. Obviously, Mrs. Sharp is the newest member to the admin team with that new position created, and then Mrs. Wolf moved over here in the last year to her admin contract. So as indicated in the email, in these arrays, we were quite a bit behind in these positions. So that's why you'll see those percentages reflect a little differently than the others. We discussed as a committee, obviously, we can't catch up any individual in 1 year, in 2 years. It's a process. And so we want to be diligent about that, but we also have to be honor financial commitments and financial the power of the purse, thank you, Cass, responsibility. So that's why you'll see those increases a little more, just to try to catch them up. I'll turn it over to Brian or Cass on anything.
As we kind of touched on earlier, the Mrs. Sharp, her salary is 80% reimbursable or whatever. It's covered by the state because it is that SPED program. So we obviously have seen a huge benefit with having these ladies on staff and in their specialized areas. It was something that we talked about. We didn't realize how much others were doing, and by having these ladies in fill these positions, how much it took off of our other staff members so that they can do so much better at their jobs that they've been doing. It just relieves so much stress. So it's been a huge benefit. Having them on staff has been a huge benefit with where they're at. So we want to make sure that we're rewarding them too, making them feel valued in their positions compared to their peers. And we have absolutely no complaints on anything that I've heard of with any of them. They both do a fantastic job. So we're lucky to have them.
One thing I will say too, we mentioned that Mrs. Sharp says 80% reimbursable SPED. Mrs. Wolf's is about 15% reimbursable Title IIA.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Comes back to.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Brian, did you have anything? Right. Jason or Shannon?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve certificated director contracts for 2025, 2026 as presented for Mrs. Wolf and Mrs. Sharp.
I was second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Let's vote.
Chase Craddock,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot, Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Fosner.
Yes.
Alright, motion carries. Agenda item 9.7, discussion of special education staffing needs and consideration of adding additional staff. So we had Mrs. Sharp here earlier, kind of go over this. Yeah, I think in looking at the increases in IEPs and the increases in each individual IEP student, definitely see the need there. I think what was nice when we created this position for Mrs. Sharp is, obviously taking some things off Dr. Morgan's plate, but also being able for her to dive in and evaluate everything across the district. Where things currently stand, what things currently look at. To do projections like these, I think, is very beneficial to the board in the district. I don't remember, I remember we get IEP reports and total students on IEPs, but I don't remember, and Shannon, I'll maybe turn to you, seeing any kind of evaluation like this in this area before. You've been on the board the longest, so I don't know if you remember seeing anything like this.
Yeah, we've gone over their points before.
Okay.
Yeah, we've looked at points probably from this perspective before. I mean, and we talk about this.
Yeah, we're that second.
Yeah, but it's like a full analysis of being understaffed this much here.
Yep.
But overstaffed this much there and
Yep.
under here and those, so this makes it a little bit easier to say, yeah. And then, not that Dr. Morgan and I haven't had these talks for years too, because I know there's some years I'm like, she's like, we got all this coming up, and I'm like, it how many are graduating, Dr. Morgan? But this is just one of those years where these numbers are looking like this, and we have hardly any graduating. I mean, we do have a couple, but, there's significantly more coming up out of preschool and kindergarten that we know about. Plus the amount that we've added, plus the amount that we've verified this year alone already. So it's just really kind of, it was workable. But this next year doesn't look as workable anymore. So I think we can say that, yeah. We don't want to overburden the great staff members that we already have by just, distributing just a few more points to everybody. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the kids, it's not fair to the teachers.
Will those, the potential of hiring another, this would be a full-time certificated staff member, correct? Not talking about a para.
No.
How would are we, like, with that big influx, losing 3 but gaining 12, is that gonna result in more paras as well? Or is that just is it gonna kind of wash out with a
We'll have to
full-time?
kind of look at those needs and we already have one para who said that she's, not going to come back next year. She had announced that when another teacher did their resignation. And so we have to look at, sometimes paras are reassigned, kind of like teachers too, and some of those might follow some elementary codes up into middle school or high school and shift some of those responsibilities in that manner. Dr. Morgan and Mr. Kingston are pretty good at sharing. Once in a while, they've shared paras, but Dr. Morgan looks happier about it than Mr. Kingston does. He said, "I'm not-
We do, we have great
I'm not
people.
sure."
that are
No, we
very
do. We
flexible.
we have really great paras, but it always seems like you could always use more paras as it is. Actually, what this could do is ease some of the load that our paras are taking on right now, especially in the secondary, getting another person on that middle school staff, because our paras are, we've managed to hold steady and get good people in, but it's always hard to find those positions, and some of the things that this person could do and take over might just ease their burden a little bit, so.
And I think Cass brought up earlier the fact that this position is 80% reimbursable, obviously.
In
Makes this-
arrears, but yeah.
Yeah, in the rears.
Yeah.
Makes this conversation a little, maybe a little different than if it was not reimbursable in the rears. But now I'll open it, if anybody ever has any additional questions for Dr. Lewis or the admin team, 'cause this is really something that would, I think, impact most levels of the school, maybe some more than others, but.
The sooner the better to fill a spot like this. I guess that's the way I look at it.
With that, I'll make a motion to add an additional staff member to fulfill special education staffing needs.
I will second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Let's go.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Does it have to be specified on what level? Or does that, it's just
Not
special education and then it's kind of
Another special
middle,
education staff. member.
elementary, wherever they need to
Because
be?
you never know, we might have somebody who wants to shift up into
Yeah.
secondary, and then we'd be hiring elementary, so I think just adding another special education teacher
Okay,
for our caseloads is probably the best way to.
sounds good. Sorry.
You're good. Let's go ahead and go ahead, Jen, sorry.
Okay. Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Arp,
Yes.
Cassie Plessner,
Yes.
Chase Craddock.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 9.8, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt 2025-2026 school year calendar. Dr. Lewis.
Yeah. So what we have in front of us, you will notice like the start date and the end date and some of the breaks look similar. To last year, this was developed in committee. Probably the biggest discussion that we had was the basically what Dr. Martin calls the plus delta, I would call the cost benefit analysis of getting our late start Fridays versus just having a full day on Friday and building in professional development time into the calendar. So after a pretty good discussion that we had in admin team that we brought then to the committee and let them talk about it as well. I feel a little bit like the 9 o'clock starts on Friday morning have run their course. They're not as effective as we want them to be. Nobody in this room can remember when it wasn't a late start on Friday morning, so it's been a long time since we've made a big shift like this. And so we are going to, just due to the nature of being able to concentrate, to start something and to follow through with it and not say, oh, it's time we gotta go, get your stuff, got kids coming and things like that. We have added 4 professional development days onto the calendar that were not there last year, and every Friday morning will be just a normal, regular 8 o'clock start, just like any other day of the week. So time-wise, this works out. An hour every Friday that we were in session, you look at 36 weeks because you've got 4 9-week sections, so that's really 36 hours. And we're adding those days, we're taking those and turning them into, basically a 7-hour day of professional development. There's a few, it was like 32 Fridays is actually what it was, because there's some Fridays we just didn't have school. So anyway, it worked out to almost, within like a half hour, we exactly, we just did 4 days versus all of those late starts. The timing worked out. We also determined that maybe the best way to build them in, the committee liked the idea of parent-teacher conference days. So what we will see on this calendar is the second day of parent-teacher conferences will be a teacher in-service day. So we'll have a Wednesday that's a regular day of school and an evening of parent-teacher conferences. The following day will be teacher in-service, followed by parent-teacher conferences, and then the following day is a day off for both teachers and students. So that's where 2 of them were built in. A third one was built in following Thanksgiving break. So the Monday that we come back from Thanksgiving break will be a teacher in-service day. That's a good day to kind of regroup after we're kind of we're almost to the end of the second semester there too, but we still have time to catch kids. We still have time to look at data before we go into that winter round of testing, things like that. It'd be a great time when you have curriculum development to stop and reflect on how the implementation went. Like when we get into implementation year for science or something like that, the teachers have a great day to sit there and talk about, okay, we're almost done with the first semester. What does that look like? We have time to maybe get some trainings and like that. And then the last one that we actually built in, which was different from last year's, is the in-service day, the last day of the school calendar. School calendar last day floats. I have it on here as the 22nd. It could be as early as the 20th if we don't use any weather-related canceled days. So, and that's in May that we're talking about. So, all of that said, start date, new teacher orientation will be August 6th. First day for students will be the 12th. Christmas again is another 3 weekends, not 3 weeks, 3 weekends and 2 full weeks. Of a break, which is what we had this year. That was nice. And we did bump spring break up 1 week. So we're kind of in that time where we've had a break from parent-teacher conferences, but Easter's coming up and we always take Friday and Monday off for Easter. So do we want to be closer to Easter break with 3 weeks in between that, or is it going to be 3 weeks after parent-teacher conferences? But in fairness, we decided that maybe to roll it back early so we have the days off during the girls' state basketball tournament rather than the boys' state basketball tournament. Towards that, because it's almost always during the boys' state basketball tournament. So it'd be nice to have that off. So kids don't have to take, or families don't have to take days off if they want to go attend girls, because sometimes they do for boys. Anyway, that was kind of it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, however you look at it. But we decided to make a shift there with the idea that maybe it would be a good idea to rotate those. We're looking at that.
Any snow days at all?
2 days, 2 snow
Okay.
days are built into this calendar. So if we don't use any snow days, finals will be the 18th, 19th, and the last day will be the 20th. this is worst case scenario here, I've got it built in, finals on this calendar, if we have up to 2 snow days, it'll be the 20th, 21st, and then the teachers will have that work day, but that in-service day on the 22nd.
So finals barring no snow days would be finals on 18th and 19th, and they
Yes.
come back on the 20th?
No, the teachers.
Oh, just the teachers,
Yeah.
okay, I'm like, they
Teachers,
are not. gonna come
teachers
back.
have.
Good luck with that. Good luck. Okay. In that case, I Oh dear.
Fun
Okay.
idea, maybe we should just have students show up one day without the teachers and see what happens, I don't know, what would you call that? Student
A mess.
day?
A mess, yeah.
I don't think those come, yeah.
I mean, nobody ever does that, maybe.
Probably
Anyway.
reason for that. Well, great. I think it's nice for a change, and it sounds like that a lot of the things that we've been hearing about calendar things are getting addressed, which is great. I think it's good to make some changes every once in a while and let the staff know that we're hearing them and trying to work with them and figure something else, something different out. Sometimes change is just what's needed. It's good.
And this should be, I mean, effective for our families with Friday being the same schedule. It eliminates some of the busing situations that we had on Friday mornings and breakfast and things like that. The way we built those extra days in there, it gives families some opportunities to take a little bit longer of a vacation without having their kids pulled out of school because if it's letting out to a break or something, so.
Absolutely.
The only question I thought about was, are we gonna be on the Friday doing a start similar to the rest of the week? Are we sending communication out?
Yeah.
Specifically that on parents to highlight that so
Yeah.
they know? Okay.
Yeah, we're working on the communication that goes with this.
Okay.
We have that started in our Google Docs, so we're putting all those ideas together succinctly so that they receive it all at the same time.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I don't know if putting it bold at the bottom of the calendar is
Oh,
gonna,
No,
is
there'll be
gonna
more.
draw attention to it, yeah.
There'll be more, I might even post a video or something like that and have it shared out on there, but just say, hey, this is gonna be a change, start thinking about that now.
It's just like anything. Some people are gonna love it, and some people are gonna hate it.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
we got it figured out.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 school year calendar as presented.
Cass,
Second.
move the second. Jason, any further discussion? Let's vote.
Shannon Beaumont. Yes. Jason Arnold.
Yes.
Kathy Klesman.
Yes.
Chase Credible.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries, and we will adjourn at 8:42 PM. I think we just need one signature.
Thanks for letting us join.
Yeah.